You're home.
Shoot on sight.
My pleasure. What do you know about my family?
I don't know anything.
Fair enough. They killed my family to get to me. It was part of a covert CIA operation. The man in charge wants me dead. Homeland. The FBI. Everybody's part of this.
You and me, we want the same thing. So work with me.
One condition. I'm gonna kill them all.
Yeah, I can live with that.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone, where we love talking about movies and more. I'm your host, Mason Phillips, and today I've got another TV review for you for The Punisher Season 1. Before we get any further in this video, I want to ask you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out. I greatly appreciate it. Now, let's talk about the plot. The Punisher sees Frank Castle uncover a conspiracy while seeking revenge for the death of his family. All right, so The Punisher Season 1. What was good about this show? This is one of my favorite seasons from the Marvel Netflix era. It actually beat out Daredevil Season 1, which was my favorite of the Marvel Netflix era for the longest time. Season 2 of Daredevil didn't quite get there. It was really good, but it didn't quite beat out Season 1. Then The Punisher Season 1 came along, and it beat out Season 1 of Daredevil for me. So this is really great. I first got to talk about Jon Bernthal. He was great as the Punisher in Daredevil Season 2. Brings some depth to this character, and as we get into his own show, we really dive into what makes Frank tick. We get more into the depth of this character, the mental state of this character, and he's not just this one-off killer like he may have been in the comics at times, but there's a lot of depth to this character, more depth than was ever given to him in the movies. Like, I like the Thomas Jane Punisher movie, I like Ray Stevenson's Punisher Warzone film, but Jon Bernthal brings another level to this character. He's charismatic at times, he's the straight-up killer at times, the soldier. He has a lot of different depths and levels to Frank Castle, brings a lot to Frank Castle, and it's all because of Jon Bernthal that this character and this show really works. And I'm so hyped that he's coming back in Daredevil Born Again, and they just announced recently that the Punisher is getting his own special presentation, special event on Disney Plus next year, and Jon Bernthal's even writing that. He's co-writing that, so I'm super excited that this guy is coming back. I've been a big fan of this character for a long time. Jon Bernthal, of course, made me an even bigger fan of the character of the Punisher in Daredevil Season 2, and so I was so happy that they gave him his own show in Season 1 and just continued the greatness of this character. He really has to deal with the fact that he's kind of dealt with taking care of the guys who killed his family, or at least he thinks he has. So as we meet Punisher at the beginning of this show, he's really lost. He has not come to terms with what has happened in his life. He's tortured mentally, physically. He does not have a life. He does not have anything outside of his own torment that is going on in him. And so we have a great look at the mental state of Frank Castle. So that was great seeing him in this stage. Of course, the plot gets rolling and he's brought back into the fold. Of course, the story of what happened to his family wasn't finished. There's still people responsible for what happened to him, what happened to his family. So the plot gets rolling again. We have the micro character that brings Frank back into the fold, and the micro character is played by Ebony Bachrach, who will be playing the Thing in the new Fantastic Four film. So he's playing two characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so that's pretty interesting how that all played out, because initially these Marvel Netflix shows were tangentially connected to the MCU, but not very heavily connected to the MCU. And it's only recently with Daredevil Born Again and the retooling they did with that show that they made all the Marvel Netflix stuff canon. So while that character of Micro is canon, and while he did happen to be played by Ebony Bachrach, I highly doubt he'll ever come back as that that character because his story is kind of wrapped up through the show anyway. So there's no reason to bring that character back, and he's coming back as the Thing anyway. So it's kind of funny how that all played out. But the Micro character brings another great element to this because of him and his family. His family is a reflection of Frank's family that he lost, and this guy who's trying to get back to his family. There's a nice connection between these two characters, and I love the back and forth that they have with each other. It's kind of an odd couple situation, but it's so great. They play off of each other very well and have great chemistry with one another. Other great characters like Curtis, Frank's old war buddy who counsels veterans going through trauma. It reminded me of Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson in that way. Curtis was a great addition to the cast. Of course, we've got Ben Barnes as Billy Russo in this. Spoilers out the gate again. I spoil things in the TV reviews. I get more into the weeds of the plot of each show, so warning up front, I am going to kind of spoil some stuff. But it's revealed that Billy Russo, Frank's old war buddy and Frank's best friend, is responsible, or is one of the players that was responsible for getting Frank's family killed. You have this dealings of mistrust and the depths of these characters being so connected as brothers, but also just torn apart as enemies at the end of all of this. And so that was a nice back and forth. Of course, I knew Ben Barnes from the Narnia films where he played Prince Caspian, so it was nice to see another side to this guy and able to see more of what he can be as an actor outside of that one character. So he brought a lot of great depth to this character and added some interesting elements to this show. We get Dina Madani, the Homeland Security agent. While she wasn't my favorite part of the show, she was a great foil for Frank. There's a lot of great elements here. I love the characters, all of them for the most part. They all worked really well. The plot is very intriguing, engaging. I love the kind of, it's not so much a whodunit, but how was it done kind of story. And there's a mystery and an intrigue to what happened to Frank's family. Who all has been involved with this? And is Frank going to finally find justice for what happened to him and what happened to his family? And he finally get all the guys who did him wrong. And that's the stuff about the Punisher that I love. It's just a guy who's let loose and is able to go get his own form of justice. I don't condone what the Punisher does at all. Don't get me wrong. I don't condone his actions, but these kind of stories are always fun to watch on screen. The Punisher has always been one of my favorite characters, and John Bernthal's Punisher is, at times, I find him even more interesting than Charlie Cox's Daredevil. So again, I'm super excited that he's coming back in Daredevil Born Again, and I can't wait to see him back on screen. This was a really great show, super entertaining. The action was super, super cool. It was always great. I always love seeing Frank at work in each scenario. And again, it's not just an action show. There is depth and character work. You see the trauma that Frank is going through. There's a lot more depth to this character. He's not just a one-note character that he could be written at times in the comics. There's more to him than that. And I think that was the worry going into the Punisher, is that there wouldn't be much to him because he was really just a supporting player in Daredevil Season 2. So can this guy hold his own and lead his own show? And of course, no doubt he could, and he did with flying colors. I truly like this show, and I love so much about this. And each episode just got better and better and better for me. I couldn't wait to see each episode, and I binged the whole thing. I think I finished it in about 2 or 3 days, got through it. And when I did my rewatch recently, again, I finished it in about maybe 3 or 4 days. It took me a little bit longer, but I got through it really quickly again. I love the show, and I was so happy and excited to do a rewatch for it. The music, the intro. I love that intro to the Punisher, and it's something I hope that they reincorporate. They reincorporated the intro of the Daredevil Netflix show. They reincorporated that intro in Daredevil Born Again. It's not exactly one-to-one, but there's elements of it that carry over. And so I'm hoping they kind of do that when the Punisher returns as well. This is his theme, and I hope it continues with the character. There's so much great about this, but let's go ahead and move on to the mixed aspect of the Punisher. All right, so what was mixed with the Punisher? At times, I found the Madani story to be a little underwhelming, and I was always just wanting to get back to the Frank side. Her story was needed because of everything that was going on with Homeland. She was doing the investigation into the stuff that Frank had been involved in Kandahar and his war unit had been involved with. So her story was needed to enhance Frank's story, but I felt at times that it just kind of dragged and at times just kind of fell, not flat, but uninteresting. And I was always more interested to know what was going on with Micro and what was going on with Frank. And I wanted to get back to those guys more, and it made me want to get back to their story more. And I found her story to be a little distracting at times and not unneeded, but just not as interesting as what was going on with Frank. Again, nothing against the Madani character. I like her character, but her story was just a little distracting, and found my times just wanting to jump back to the Frank story as quickly as possible. That's all I really got in the mixed section. So let's move on to the bad aspects of the Punisher Season 1. So The Punisher Season 1. I don't really have much bad to say on this. It's kind of like I did in Daredevil Season 1. I don't really have anything bad to say about the show other than I think it feels a little bloated at times. This is a problem these Marvel Netflix shows tended to have, is that they went on just a little too long, and I think the show would have served better to be a 10-episode season rather than a 13-episode season, and some episodes could have been condensed a little bit. Again, that Madani storyline, I think, didn't need to be as in-depth as it was. Could have shortened it a little bit and kept it more focused on Frank and more focused on Micro. It wasn't distracting, and it didn't pull away from their story, but again, I think you could have condensed the show a little bit and brought it down on the episode number down to 10 and maybe not 13. Final thoughts on The Punisher Season 1. I love this show. Jon Bernthal as Frank Castle is amazing. I've loved this guy ever since I first saw him in The Walking Dead as Shane, so he brings a lot of what he brought to that character into the Frank Castle role. And Jon Bernthal's just one of my favorite actors. I always love seeing him pop up in films and TV shows, and so I'm so excited. There's a couple movies coming out this year that he's going to be involved with, and of course he's going to be in Daredevil Born Again. So I can't wait to see the character of Frank Castle come back. I can't wait to see more stuff with Jon Bernthal, and I'm so excited to see Ebon Bachrach as the Thing in the Fantastic Four First Steps. That is still so hilarious that he's now playing both of these characters. And I love the David Lieberman character because his character was very interesting as well. It wasn't just a Frank story, but it was also a David Lieberman story. His story was almost just as interesting, if not more interesting at times, than Frank's story. And I thought that they were great parallels to one another and great partners for each other in the show. And so I love their chemistry. They work so well off of each other. Two great actors playing two great characters. Now, the Ben Barnes, Billy Russo villain, won't say I hate this villain. I hate what he did. He's not the most captivating villain. I mean, he's fine. I thought he served his purpose, and it was exciting to see him come back in The Punisher Season 2. I don't think he detracted from the show, but he's not the most gripping and captivating villain like we had with the Kingpin and like we had with Kilgrave in the previous Marvel Netflix shows. So he was a good villain. He served his purpose, but he's just not the most captivating villain. But I did love seeing him get his due at the end of the show. That's the thing I always love about these Punisher stories, is the Punisher always gets his man and always gets the justice he's looking for. I love that aspect of the show. The action was great. The drama was great. The score, the music was great. It could have been a little condensed. I think the show was a little too bloated. I think they gave it too many episodes and probably could have brought it down to about 10 episodes, maybe 11 episodes, not 13 episodes. But at the end of the day, this was a very entertaining show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if I'm going to give the show a rating, it's got to be a 4.5 out of 5 or an A- on the letter scale. It's not perfect, but it is super, super entertaining. I love this season more so than Daredevil Season 1. I didn't think that was possible, but this show was so fun. If you've had a chance to see The Punisher Season 1, go down in the comment section. Let me know what you thought of the show. I'd love to hear from you. Before we go, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when new videos go live on this channel. When you guys do that, it always helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. Hope you all have an awesome and a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.